Welcome to Downtime with Donnie. Your host, Nathan Downs, chats with Donnie Lockhart, a 35-plus year veteran of the fence industry. We get his feedback and opinions on fencing, construction, and everything in between. Let's join Donnie and Nathan now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Downtime with Donnie. I'm your host, Nathan Downs, and we have Mr. Donnie Lockhart on the line here. Donnie, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much. Trying to get over this flu thing.
Yeah.
Finally beat the fever off of it anyways. I still have a little bit of lingering effects, but
COVID
okay.
7.0.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, Donnie has the bug that's been going around, and
the bad one.
The bad one, right? And it's been lingering for a minute. And we actually had one of our crews test positive for COVID 2 weeks ago. And Donnie, the first thing, I think right about the same time you got sick, the first thing I thought COVID wasn't a thing anymore. What's going on?
So it isn't. Not the original COVID is not
right.
a thing anymore, but the different versions of it are all still here, and it's still mutating into different versions. At least that's what I'm gathering. They're just not calling it COVID anymore, right?
Sure, something different, some new variant, something. But
you can only rename it so many times, I think.
Right. I know you got sick, and I had a bunch of people asking, that we've missed you the last couple of weeks, and in that period of time as well. You had a family member pass away. Your mom passed away, and you've been dealing with that as well. So
still dealing with it.
Yeah, a lot of people have been sending thoughts and prayers your way, man, and your family's way. No, that's never.
I appreciate it.
Just dealt with that with my dad 2 months ago. So never an easy thing, even when we expect it, right?
And it's just one of those things you got to prepare yourself for, I think. And I was better prepared than what I thought. As far as on my end, I was more worried about my little brother. He's not exactly. He still sees things as a child, and hit him a little bit harder. But short-term memories, we don't have short-term memory very much. You just got long-term memory, so it's a little easier than I thought it was going to be with him. I haven't got a chance to go back out there since she has passed, just because I didn't want to go out there sick.
Yeah.
So I really haven't got a chance to touch base with either one of my brothers. I know one of them thinks he's in charge, but he's not. So.
Oh, yeah. There's always some, man. I would say that's always, fortunately, haven't had to deal with that myself, with any of my siblings or whatever, but I know a lot of people that have dealt with that stuff. So nonetheless, like I said, thoughts and prayers with you and your family. And hey, Donnie, I've got a great question for you today. Actually saw this online on one of the Facebook groups. Cody Lanier out of Oakdale, Louisiana, had a question, and I thought this would be a really cool one for you and I to break down. He posted up online. He said, "Hey, I have a customer that wants to put a gate across a 31-foot hole residential. What to do?"
Right. So I mean, the first aspect of this is that all you have is 31 feet, across the front.
Right.
Across the back or wherever you're putting this. If you only have 31 feet of fence line that you can be on, then it makes it a whole lot tougher. Of course, and you know as well as I do that if you've got 31 feet and you've got plenty of space for, say, for example, you have 62 or 65 feet, which is what you really would want, and putting a cantilever in, correct?
Yeah,
especially that
exactly.
Size. Just because you're going to have less problems with it, you're not going to have the issues. It's just pretty much a maintenance-free gate, and 31 feet. I mean, for most people, if you put it in right, you can shove this thing open. You can shove it closed. It's no big deal. They get much bigger than 31 feet, and it gets to be a lot more weight, and it usually is a problem for women, right?
Right. Well, I was thinking, Donnie, as I saw that question pop up, I was immediately going to, there's probably a lot of information we're missing here to really competently give a correct answer, right?
Right.
I mean, we don't know what type of fence he's even talking about putting in.
I'm assuming privacy.
Right. And I assumed privacy too, just because he said residential. But then immediately I'm like, What if it's 4-foot chain link? What if it's iron? There's so many different things there. I assumed privacy would as well
Right.
when I
And
read that.
just like you would want to know, well, is the customer is it going across concrete? Is or a concrete pad of some sort, or is there any kind of footer that it's rolling on would play a
Right.
factor in what kind of gate you can put in too.
Sure.
You may not necessarily have to have the cantilever if it's got going across, a paved driveway or something. You could do a Harvey gate with wheels.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Or track or
RV track. Yep.
Out there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Just, cantilever just happens to be the less of all the evils, right?
Yep.
I mean, it really does.
Yep.
You less problems out of that gate you're going to have, regardless of all the other gates that we mentioned in this. The cantilever is going to be the least amount of maintenance by far.
Every time.
So, but we both know that this is probably not going to be the case. If he's doing a 31-foot gate and it's generally a front, and it's residential, I'm going to guess that he's not got 65 feet there.
Right.
Right. I mean, most people just don't have 65-foot fronts.
Right.
Now that's in our part of the country. I don't know about anywhere else, but
yeah, down in Louisiana where he's at.
Now we're going to lead it into the fact: can you do a double gate of 31 foot? I mean, a double where you're 215.5 foot, right?
Yeah. I mean, look at some of the gates we just put in.
So correct, and that's the thing is, can you do that? Well, of course you can.
Sure.
But you're going to overkill it. You have to overkill it.
Yeah.
And you could probably hit on it just as much as me as far as what we mean by that is you're going to have to make sure it's a good steel frame being used, heavy hinges, which we would probably be using barrel hinges or something equivalent to the barrel hinge, the 7-inch barrel hinge.
Yep.
And then make sure you're getting in solid posts, either a 6 or an 8-inch post for the two gates to hang off of.
Yep.
I personally, it looks kind of bad when you do an 8-inch post because it's so bold, I guess. But if you get a 6-inch in there and you get it deep enough, it's probably fine too. It's just one of those things. You're going to overkill everything in order to do that with a swing gate.
Right.
And we know that from experience because if you don't, you're asking for problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
how thick how thick the steel is, what size footer you're going to have to put on that. Do you need to put rebar in it to shore up the whole dadgum thing to it? Does it need to be, he's in Louisiana. Is he in the north part of Louisiana? Is he in the south part of Louisiana? Maybe the north might get a little more frost. He's still going to have to go deep enough where that really shouldn't matter. But as you and I know, if he's further down south, and what if it's all sandy along the delta or something like that?
Or wet all the time, wet soil.
Yeah. You got to bell curve that thing. You got to go 4 feet down or more. I mean, again, I love, Donnie, I love questions like this online because it's so open-ended. Like there's so many variables. And it's like, I really need a lot more info to answer you correctly.
and I'm sure he knows some of this stuff. Surely.
Oh yeah.
He does gates too, I'm sure, just maybe not a 31 foot. 31 foot is a big gate, right? I mean,
it's big.
They're generally used for industrial use. I don't think I've ever seen a 31 foot. I can't think of one in my entire career that I've done for a residential though.
No, man, I think the biggest I've ever done is
20.
It's like a 28 foot.
Yeah, it's still that's huge. 28 feet.
Two 14-foot swing gates. And that was a ornamental iron, right?
Right.
Over a driveway. And it was only 5 foot tall. So it really wasn't that big of a, like in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't like full privacy, cap and trim, or, a fence track or something solid where you're like, okay, this thing.
And I think the only residential I've ever done and it was 20 foot that I can think of or remember right off the top of my head was actually it was 21 foot and it was just a 4 foot and we did a Harvey gate.
Harvey gate?
Just enough room to do a Harvey gate there. And customer was happy with it. I mean, but once again, we're talking 4 foot residential chain link.
Right.
It's not hard. You're using a little bit heavier track for your track brackets and everything, and a little heavier posts right there on the gate itself.
Yep.
But everything else is pretty much the same as the rest of the fence, right?
Yeah.
It
And
doesn't have to
Donnie,
be beefed
explain
up.
to some of the guys, everybody should know what a Harvey gate is, but I feel like I know that's what we call it here in the central part of the states. What's a Harvey gate? Describe that thing for them so they know.
So a Harvey gate is a gate where you're rolling on tracks that are set on the fence posts.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing as a cantilever. Cantilever, your gate is actually sitting on your rollers. In this aspect, you're actually using two rollers at the back of the gate that are actually hanging on tracks and track brackets that are mounted to your posts. And then you get a carriage wheel, which is what the end of the gate on the far end, the closing end, where you latch it and everything. That's getting a carriage wheel, two wheels that hold the gate in place, hold it standing straight up whenever it's closed, or when you're opening it and shutting it. So you have to have tracks for that to ride on. It's not, wheels that you're putting your gate frame into, and it's not, of course, there's a couple variants of different, gates that you can do. Like I know you've done a few of the ones where you use the trucks and it's self-hanging from a track.
Right.
I haven't done a whole lot of those, but those are cool. Those are probably a good option to go to. You just got to beef it up again, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
But
that's what's cool about understanding these different variants of gates and really learning it. And I would suggest someone like Cody or anybody out there that's younger in the fence business, man, go around town and look at some of these commercial properties. That will give you a lot of inspiration for ideas on unique ways to solve gate problems, because gates are a fundamental piece of what we do as a fence builder. And as Donnie, as you and I have been talking about the last couple weeks, and Randy's been working on our new directive for the gate safety for our local school districts and all that stuff like that,
right.
Trying to get that information out there. But, gates are also the most dangerous part of the project and where most people can get hurt, or most of the time that's where you're going to see your failure of your project is at the
Right.
gate.
Right. And just like any gate, it's important to make sure you're using the right setup on it.
Yeah, that's good.
You can't just for example, when we did this 21-foot cantilever, so the gate frame and stuff that I built was still out of 1 3/8 regular tubing. It was nothing special, put wire on it, but the track and the posts that were holding the track, we did out of Schedule 20.
Yep,
just
there you
so
go.
that doesn't have a failure in it, right?
Sure.
So it just didn't make no sense to have to do the gate that way. You want it to match the chain links that's there, but you have to beef up the post and you have to beef up the track, or that's where it's going to fail at every time.
And that was one of the things. And you know what's funny, man? And I think you're the same way as me. I have found that I learn the most, unfortunately, because there wasn't any before. There was these podcasts and stuff, or really even people talking about it on like Facebook and Instagram and whatnot.
And you wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't know. So you'd have to put something in that failed, and then you'd figure out like, holy crap. And I remember when I first came to work with you, man, there was a gate, a 6+1 Harvey gate. So this Harvey gate that we're describing, right? And it was a commercial gate that you guys had put up, and it was like 16 feet, and the gate kept falling off. And I finally went out there when the wind would blow, and I'm like, this gate looks great. Like, there's no reason. Well, I started looking, and I looked at the pipe tracks that the rollers rolled back on that was along, like hung along the fence line.
Right.
And it was 1 5/8 SS20. And what was happening was, right, there's just enough flex that those dadgum pipes would slide right out and that gate would just fall right over. Oh my gosh.
So
like
that's
nonstop.
A good point to bring up, by the way, when you're talking Harvey gates. You can't have the same centers on your post neither. You have to shorten those. Right. The longer you make the track, the more flex it's going to have.
Yep.
So a good rule of thumb, I mean, in most of the fences we put in, I think, what is it, 5 or 6 foot at the most for your center to center for your gate posts on those?
We'll do 8 foot on them. here and there, depending on how big the gate is, right? And
Right.
in the height, and there's right, so many factors
Plays
in
a
that.
fact on wind and everything else
Yep.
too.
Yep.
So I've seen Schedule 20. I've seen Schedule 40 flex in 8-foot sections.
Yeah. Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Sure.
So
But
if you start adding pickets on a gate or something like that, I mean, there's a lot of weight on that thing when you start talking. It gets wet or something like that, right? So
yeah.
even Schedule 40 is going to flex some in an 8-foot center.
Yeah.
If I had a say so in it, or we actually, because there's times we don't think about that at every time either. I know I don't, but I think 6-foot center is probably a better way to go. It's a little more costly to the gate, but you just have less of a chance of it bowing from any weight.
Sure.
Now, with residential 4-foot chain link, 6-foot chain link, residential 11.5 gauge, how stiff does it have to be, right? When it's a chain link. Now, when you start talking industrial, it's a different story.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's what you're supposed to do with industrial, beef it up. You don't want problems with it, that's for sure. You know as well as I do. If you have to keep going back to it, it's just costing money every time.
And I don't think if you're selling a residential gate in any capacity, whether it's a swing gate or some type of rolling gate, when you're looking at that, Donnie, you have to know that it's okay if you really don't know the answer and you're having problems finding it or whatever. You can always use your best judgment and go a step above that, right?
Right.
Like if you're using tubing and it's a residential grade and like, oh, they don't have any dogs and it really doesn't matter. But I could go with an SS20 or really go all the way up to SS40, but use some heavier commercial grade pipe, even a light commercial, like I said, the SS20. You get into that kind of framework and that kind of post and stuff. It really, for the cost, it's minimal to protect yourself from under engineering something and then having it fail.
And here's plays another factor in it. You know the customer is going to go with you. You should always beef it up. You can't go wrong by beefing it up. If you know the customer is going to go with you and he's fine with whatever it's going to cost to build this gate, then go the next step up and go one step further and go ahead and beef it up now. Then you just won't have those issues out of it, right?
Yeah.
I know that I've actually seen another application where you could always do that 31 foot. You could actually do I've seen it done where they've got a swing gate and a Harvey gate, or a swing gate and a cantilever where they connect. They may not use one part of that, and you may have to put some sort of drop rod on one side. Or we've done it. I've done a 15-foot swing gate with a cantilever on the other side, it's 20 feet, and basically put the industrial drop rod in there for everything to tie into it, and it works. They're only open the single gate from time to time, and when they really need everything, they just open both gates.
Right.
But there's lots of different ways you can get a 31-foot opening. Those kind of openings are for trucks, right? I mean, that's what we put them in for most of the time, is for big trucks, semis.
Yeah, but I could see, in a residential setting like that, I could see maybe the fence line is right off the street and they have a weird driveway where you have to, maybe a truck and trailer or a big RV or something, where it has to come in at a strange angle, where they need that big of an opening. But
yeah,
again, it comes back to, Donnie, you got to have more details.
More details. Right. I know we have some of those instances. One of those would be, do you approach the customer with doing a setback before you build the gate and make the gate smaller?
Right.
Where you're off the road more before you actually get to the gate. We do quite a bit of that too.
And that is because you and I have done this for too long. Like we immediately go, all right, what you need to do is you need to bring this in about 30 feet or like what I often ask, and especially when we're doing entry gates off of any like arterial road or anything like that, some of these country roads. Hey, what's the biggest vehicle typically that you're going to have coming in here? Like, is it going to be just passenger vehicles? Is there a chance you're going to have a truck and trailer? Again, any RVs or anything? And they'll tell you, oh, you know what? I do have a horse trailer that's 30 feet long. and it's a fifth wheel or something. Okay,
Right. Or an
so
RV that
yeah,
pulls big
so we need 40,
trailer
50
behind
feet.
it.
Yeah, right. So we're going to need 40 or 50 feet to get off the road safely,
Right.
in those kind of circumstances. So that all plays into that. Just asking the right questions. I'm sure Cody has all those answers.
Right.
He just was throwing out the hypothetical of like, hey, what would you do? And like I said, I think the real way to get the right answer there is to get all the details and
Yeah.
understand exactly
Do
what
you
we're going.
have 65 foot for the front to build a cantilever? Are you specifically with the 31-foot opening and everything's got to be an opening when you're done? I
Right.
mean, that's tough. It really is tough to do a 30-foot opening and that's all you have. You don't have any more space on your fronts.
Right.
Even for us, I mean, we would overkill the crap out of it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because we already know that if we don't do that this is going to be an ongoing project. And it's not what you want because gates are problems regardless of what you do. They're the number one thing that is an issue with fence is gates.
Mm-hmm.
Harvey Gate being the lesser of all the evils, right? But once again, now you also got to consider the safety of the Harvey Gate at 31-foot Harvey Gate. If you're doing
Yeah.
or a cantilever, can they control this gate whenever they're opening? Because we know all cantilevers are supposed to be level
Yep.
when they're put
Right.
in. So you may have a gap on this end that you normally wouldn't have on other gates.
Well, and I think when I see 31 feet, Donnie, I immediately think, what is the safe? And you mentioned that, for someone that's smaller, maybe like you said, kids or a wife or something on a residential
Right.
setup, 31-foot opening, the safest thing and the easiest thing is a cantilever gate.
Right.
Like, and probably if you want to go the next step, I mean, doing an engineered cantilever gate, right? That has
Right.
the aluminum tracks with the truck assemblies, internal in the rails,
Right.
very secure. All of these things, of course, is we haven't noted, but we're starting to even reevaluate what we've done for decades. Is putting fallover protection on those things, making sure that these gates are, as safe as they can be. But again, thinking 31 feet, my brain immediately went the same way yours did. Well, if we have the backspace to do it, a cantilever gate would be the most appropriate, because I wouldn't do a Harvey gate or a V-track gate that long. Oh my gosh. I mean, that thing is a death machine, just waiting
Right.
to get the wind. Or, then I think about that too. Even if you did swing gates, I mean, you're talking about swing gates that are so long. That thing. So one of the reasons, Donnie, a lot of people may not know, is the gate operators, especially on swing gates. For UL compliance on a swing gate, it actually says that the nose of the gate, on a class 1, which would be residential in nature, or class 2, which is commercial,
Right.
the nose of the gate cannot exceed 1 foot per second of travel.
Correct.
And why that's important is because you and I have seen it. You get a 14, 15, 16-foot gate, and doesn't have an operator, right?
Right.
And you're opening the gate and the wind catches it. What does that thing do? The speed of that gate, oh my gosh.
And it's going to do lots of damage. And hopefully nobody's pinned between the fence and the gate, right?
Right. And I'm not even talking to privacy. I'm even thinking chain link gates, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could get a stupid chain link gate, get away from you. And that thing, if you barely open it, like let's say you unlatch a 16-foot gate and the wind comes through and gushes at 30 miles an hour. If you release that thing, that gate velocity and speed on the nose of that, I mean, is like a car crash.
It's going to do lots of damage.
Right. So I think everybody has to take into that. Everyone that's listening that's a professional is like, yeah, we know that, Nathan, but like, we've got to think about these things from the perspective
Especially
of when
that size gates.
Exactly. Especially when we're talking
a 10-foot double. Okay, well, it can give velocity too.
Sure.
Especially if it's a privacy. But it's minimal, right? It's not going to tear everything up when it slams to the fence.
Right.
Or if it does catch somebody in it, it probably is not going to kill them. But you catch a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid in between a 15-foot, and it's swinging.
Oh man,
just like you said, 40 mile an hour. Well, guess what? It could probably hit hard enough to probably knock him out.
yeah, or worse. So,
Yeah.
or like what we're seeing with these schools and stuff like that. Something gets away, something gets past any positive stops, past any fall protection and stuff. I mean, then the weight and the velocity of the gates like they could fail. So imagine the
Right.
stupid gate gets away from you, the damn thing breaks the hinges, and then it falls, and you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, what a
Now
nightmare,
somebody's pinned under it, and
right?
that's
I
never
mean,
a good thing.
yeah, So again, we're professionals. We have to take all these things into account. We have to understand and coach our clients through this.
The best way you could probably look at this is be like anything that you do in life, like being a mechanic or being, whether you're a fenceman, a mechanic, or something else. So, mechanics generally don't touch things that are moving.
That's true.
Because you can get hurt.
Right.
The same thing with a gate. It's a moving object. Even a cantilever can be dangerous, without stops. I mean, we had one here not too long ago. I told you somebody messed with or they broke it. And when I went to open it, it wasn't level anymore because somebody dropped the rollers on the backside. Well, that thing just took off. It almost caught me at the end of where the roller stop is, and just about had my hand in between the pipes.
Jeez, yeah.
Because somebody decided, we can just take these rollers and loosen it and it'll roll. Well, that's never the answer. And of course we knew what it was. They bent the frame, right?
Right.
Some truck or something bent the frame on it.
Yep.
And their idea was, let's drop these two rollers here and then we can open and shut this gate by hand. And all I kept thinking whenever it almost got me, I was like, ooh, man, this is so dangerous. You shouldn't even be using this gate right now.
Yeah.
And because there was no fixing it. You couldn't bring the rollers back up or you wouldn't be able to shut the gate or close the gate at all. They wouldn't be able to do anything with it. It was so bent up. And I'm sure we fixed that since then, since they're one of our clients and they only go through us. But, it just goes to show you that in anything you do, you never have your hands or a body or a, some sort of digit or something in between anything that's actually moving. And a gate is a moving object. It's not a stationary object.
Yep.
So they're going to be dangerous regardless, which is the reason why they came out with all these safety measures, because people didn't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. Or we just kind of buried our head in the sand.
Or nobody ever reported it, or nobody, they
Sure.
see it as a normal everyday thing, right? But it's good that there's people out here that have actually gone a little step further, and because this is all new to me, right?
Right.
I didn't have this whenever I was building. You just built the fence.
Right.
It's just the way it was. Never gave two thoughts about maybe a kid getting caught in between the fence or anything else. I know when we do walk gates, we try to generally open them away from the house. I try to tell customers we don't open to the house because, if your kid comes out here and opens his gate and the wind catches it, well, they're going to pin them between the house and the gate.
Right.
I'd rather it fling them out away from the house as it would to fling them into the house and pin them.
Yeah.
And we preach it all the time whenever it comes to walk gates because we have lots of customers who want to open them the other way. It's like, if I don't have to, I'd prefer not to.
Yeah, we prefer not to. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So, plays a big factor in all. Gates are more and more dangerous. And I think the fact that they brought it to people's attention is probably the best thing they could have done. I know I've heard horrible stories since I've actually started learning about it all. And it's something new to me too. It's, like I said, it's not something that I ever thought about.
Yeah, you just got to educate yourself. There's so many things out there. The American Fence Association has all these trainings for certification, like you learned in the Certified Automated Gate System Designer course and doing that. And then FWA's got Fence Workers Association has online trainings about gate safety and testing and stuff on their websites, and there's just it's going to continue to grow
once you get the basics. I think for most people, once you learn the basics of safety on it, it just makes you where you're aware. I think on the fact, because there's still things where I still come to you and talk to you about, well, should we do this, should this be here, and because I know you have way more experience with it and definitely a lot more what do you want to call it? learning involved in it.
Sure.
For, as far as people in Oklahoma, anyways.
Sure.
So it's still something that I still am learning myself. It's not. I'm not 100% of everything, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people need to understand is you need to become aware of it. You may not be perfect when you do this, but you should be thinking of this whenever you're doing these gates, right?
And educating our customers out there.
Yes.
Letting them know, letting them be aware that that's even a thing. Like Cody in this situation for this guy, just letting the customer go, a 31-foot opening gate, like, that's a lot. Like just letting them, just being transparent in that, going, hey, yeah, we've got some options. We can do this, but I just want to let you know, like, this is
we have to take precautions.
Exactly. Like it could be a very unsafe situation if this isn't handled correctly. And then on top of that, if I bid the job and design the job correctly, Donnie, if you go with the cheaper bidder, make sure that you're not sacrificing every ounce of every safety thing that we're aware of, right? Just to save a buck and then have something happen later down the road. I mean, that's just as bad, but that comes back to the education component.
And I don't think most customers, when they're asking, because if he's asking for 31-foot gate, he's evidently got the money to spend on it, right? Because it's going to be expensive compared to a normal gate anyway.
Right.
I don't think those kind of customers, when they're asking for those custom type gates, I don't think they would have the problem with the extra expense for safety.
Right.
I really believe that if you're telling them why you have to do these other things and why the safety is a real factor, I think for most people nowadays, they're fine with that. They just don't want a bunch of stuff that's in there that's not required. That's the problem where you're going to, it'd be like taking it to mechanic and mechanic telling you, well, it needs a new flywheel, clutch, and starter, and yet it's got a brand new starter on it.
Right.
That means you're being taken advantage of. You're getting something that you've already paid for that isn't required for you to have to pay for again.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing with these safety, whether it be an eye or a pressure sensor or whatever. I mean, you can overkill it. When you can overkill it, you just should be doing what's required for that gate. And that's what the UL rating is, and I can't remember the other one now, right off the top of my head. That's what they're about, is to make sure you're not charging the customer for an extra eye that you don't need. You're not charging for an extra pressure sensor that you don't need. You're making the gate 100% safe with the things that are out on the market. They're all out there. I mean, I probably haven't seen half of them, but I know they're there. I know they make it. They just make different versions of it. Different things that work with different operators, for one.
Yep.
As another thing that I'm learning.
So that's good stuff, man. Well, hopefully Corey hears this, gets us some more information. We love to follow up on that one. And
we're more than willing to help. I mean, if he's still a little confused with it, then give us more information on it. I mean, I know that you don't have a problem. I don't have a problem helping people. If they've contacted me, I've had a few that's contacted me about like the walk gates and bracing and stuff.
And if you guys, heck, at this point, if somebody wants to even get on the show here and ask your questions live and kind of walk through this, we can even do stuff like that as always. I mean, we're pretty fluid with your show, Donnie, being able to do things as we need to and adjust them. As I'm saying that, it's 8:35 at night and we're both at home recording this, so it's probably why it sounds different than the studio, but nonetheless
it does. But it's still the same thing. It's still the same process. Still the same information you're going to get, whether it was in the podcast room or not.
No, absolutely, man.
I just happen to be sick or recovering from being sick. I'm still 100%.
Yeah.
Because I normally don't sound like I'm, Sean the Bauer from Sean on or whatever.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you remember that show or not.
I know what you're talking about.
Bowser, that's what his name was.
Oh, that's awesome. So, all right, man. Hey, we're going to cut this thing off. Hey, before we go, Donnie, got to give a shout out to our boy, Joe Everett.
Joe.
Old Joe and Ozark Wireworks.
Ozark Wireworks. Yeah.
www.ozarkwireworks.com. current pricing up there. They are still building chain link right now through the holidays. Took a couple days off here, but I know that they were still producing some stuff. I was talking to him about our next stocking order coming up here soon. So yeah,
you ever find out if he had started that second machine?
He hadn't confirmed with me that he did start it up. I'm not for sure.
I know he was.
We need to ask him and let everybody know.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I need to follow up with him
because
on that.
Why he's wanting to do it, because he can make more fans. He make more
absolutely
orders.
Yeah,
fill more orders, of course.
Absolutely.
We want to help him grow too.
Man, he's chumming along. It's good.
The more he grows, the cheaper the product will get.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Right.
So the more he can cut his costs by sales out there, doing the sales that he's doing, the cheaper your products always come down. Same thing that we talked about when Maristar started and even Fence Track. That stuff is still, it's come down. It's not come down as much as everybody would probably like.
Sure.
But base model, the basic fence that's out there, if you was to do the same thing today, would be a lot cheaper than what it used to be.
Yeah, comparatively in the market, sure.
Right.
It's true.
So it's important whenever you got that, and you got guys out there trying to build, new products and get it out on the market for everybody to benefit from.
Yeah, good stuff.
We like his stuff, so.
Yeah, it's great. We love it. So, all right, buddy. That's it, everyone. We appreciate you, as always, for joining us. Check us out next week on Downtime with Donnie.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. Bye.
Thanks for taking a little downtime with Donnie and Nathan. The opinions and comments on this show are of the participants only and do not reflect that of its sponsors or partners. For more content and information about Radius, visit www.protectingyourradius.com. Give us a like, share this online, and look for us back real soon.